Well, Friday.
This is
Absolutely.
smooth. I'm a little more than casual, but I hear y'all.
He's on his Steve
I
Jobs
just
today.
put on a shirt and suit and tie or a jacket.
The same
and tie.
shirt, suit, and tie, but it's
Not that.
That's what you do, though, Max. I like it. You're always looking sharp, professional.
Always together.
Matrix,
You as
same
well,
outfit.
Tim.
365. Go
Know
ahead.
it.
Tim, let's start with Alabama, which remains at number 5 in the latest playoff ranking. You know, the Tide will be without Tua for the remainder of the season after he underwent hip surgery earlier this week. So how likely is Bama to make this year's playoff?
Well, I think it's a huge blow to them, and I think it's a huge blow to them getting in the playoff. I think a lot of people are going to knock them for it, but I think there's an opportunity in front of them that gives them a slight chance. If Mac Jones can step up, get some playing time under his belt this weekend, and then go to Jordan-Hare and beat Auburn, a really good team and a great defense, and if they're able to win that game by 10, 14 points and dominate, and then the argument comes down to Alabama versus an Oregon. If Oregon wins the Pac-12 championship, then me personally, I would look at what happened on the field. Alabama beating Auburn at their home at the end of the year, and I would give the nod over an Oregon team losing to a freshman quarterback in his first game on a neutral field. I do not think that's what the committee will do. I do not think they will say unequivocally Alabama will be better in that situation than Oregon. I would look at it and I would say what happens on the field matters. I think they would give it. I think the committee wants a conference championship to get in. That's just what I'm hearing, and so I think that'd probably be the way it would go. But I still think Alabama has a chance.
Tim, we haven't spoken to you since Tua went down. What was your reaction when you saw him go down? And I only asked that question from the standpoint, there were people, not myself, not Max, but there were people out there that were debating whether or not he should have been in the game at that particular juncture to begin with. What was your feeling?
Well, I said before the game, I said on SEC Nation last Saturday morning that I didn't think Tua should play. I thought that they were going to take care of Mississippi State very handily and easily, and you could get Mac Jones ready. I thought, just with his ankle and everything, I would have rested him. And people say that doesn't play into it, but he would have been a step faster. He would have been a step quicker, and that might not have happened. But I don't want to look back or not Coach Saban for doing it. He was doing what he thinks right, and he's the best coach of all time in doing it. It's a freak injury. It's a freak thing. I feel bad for the kid. He's an amazing kid. And right after it happened, I was texting him, letting him know I was praying for it. And, he was texting me back words of encouragement. And it's just, he's a special young man to be able to have the mindset in that perspective. And I know so many people are rooting for him, praying for him, and encouraging him. And I know he appreciates that. But he's someone that if anyone can handle this, he can. And he's a special young man.
Tim, based on what you know, I mean, a lot has changed since Bo Jackson's hip situation, and this was handled much better according to what we know now and according to what actually transpired in terms of getting blood flow and all that stuff. What do you think about going forward? Where can he be? Do you think he can be as great as we thought he could be, or does this somehow compromise that?
To be honest, I can't fully answer that, Max. I wish I could. I don't know. I'm not a doctor in this situation. I think the good thing for Tua is that he doesn't have to be as powerful and explosive as Bo Jackson to be great at his craft. What he does better than anyone in college football is those with touch and accuracy and precision and is on time. He can still do those things. Now, one thing that might be limited is his ability to do this right here. It's ability to scramble and maneuver in the pocket and adjust and throw from off platform and be able to do those things, which he's also really good at. But I still think even if he's hampered just a little bit in the hip, he probably can't be as great, but I still think Tua can be great, and I still think he can be successful on the next level.
Any issue in your mind with the rankings? LSU 1, Ohio State 2. You like that? Do you think it should be flip-flopped? Where do you stand with all of that? Where do you think Clemson belongs?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters 1 and 2. LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and then Georgia. I think that is totally fine. Alabama 5, then Oregon, Utah. I agree with that. I think that's correct. I think really where the hard part's going to get is at the end of the year, if we have a lot of one-loss teams, how are they going to decipher that? An Oklahoma that wins a conference championship, an Oregon wins a conference championship, or a Utah, which I think is a really good team, a very physical team. And then you have an Alabama, if they're able to beat Auburn. Minnesota, what happens if Penn State wins this weekend over Ohio State, I think it could get really crazy, and I think there's a lot of arguments for a lot of teams, and I like the excitement. I like the drama of it. I hope we're able to truly look at get the best teams, though, not just when some people say deserving or strength of schedule, but the best teams, because I want the best teams to competing for the championship.
Tim, the season is moving. We're now just 3 weeks away from the Heisman Award ceremony. So today, who's your front runner?
Oh, it's not close. It's Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow has to really kind of screw up the next few weeks to lose it. And I think a Justin Fields has to really have some amazing games against Penn State, against the Michigan, a conference championship, to really blow it away, to give someone else a shot at this thing. But I think it's Joe Burrow to lose. I think he's going to run away with this thing. I think he's proven it week after week after week. And then going to T-Town and doing what he did against Alabama and performing that well on third down in the big situations. And we also need to remember, he's done it all year, not on first and second down, on third down in the red zone, big time all year. He's by far the front runner.
Meantime, there's pressure that's not even Heisman related on Justin Fields right now. How would you describe the level of pressure on him now, Tim?
Well, there's so much pressure, and he's new to this. I think he's a great player. I think he's had a great year, but he's got to go up against the next couple weeks, big rivalry games. And also, we got to remember, this team hasn't necessarily faced a really good team so far this year. They faced some decent teams, but they haven't faced a great team. So I'm really I'm excited to see how he performs. I think he's going to perform well, but there's a lot in front of this team. All their biggest games are in front of them, and we got to see how they react when they really get hit in the mouth. Everybody wanted to make a big deal about Nebraska, about Michigan State, about Cincinnati. Let's be honest, they're not really that good of teams. I do think Ohio State is the most complete team, but I want to see them put it together against Penn State, Michigan, and then the conference championship. And I'm excited. I think they're going to do well with that.
Particularly with the storyline for Justin Fields as it relates to Penn State, does that add to it? Like, how does a kid, you know, with the lack of experience, deal with all that in a big rivalry game against a 9-1 team?
Well, I think, first of all, Ryan Day is really good at helping quarterbacks handle pressure. He's really good at being able to coach them, being able to get their eyes in the right spot, which Justin Fields has been doing really well this entire year. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him in this moment. The crowd's going to be excited, but he's going to have the crowd behind him, and they're going to be pumped up, and they're going to be loud in support of him. But I think he'll handle the pressure well. Yes, there is a lot of pressure because they're arguably 1-2 in the country, and everything's in front of them.
Decommitted from Penn State?
Yeah, but that's so long ago, man. I mean, yes, it's personal, but guess what? He was at Georgia here, a couple years ago, last year, and now he's at Ohio State. Yes, there's pressure on him, but I think he'll be just fine. He'll learn how to block that out and be just fine.
I can't believe Max, of all people, has passed up on asking you this question. He hasn't mentioned Trevor Lawrence. Max was raving about this guy, talking about him as being the second coming of Joe Montana. Clemson's undefeated. They're the reigning, defending national champions. Yet, because Trevor Lawrence has thrown twice as many interceptions this year than the 4 he threw last year, even though he's completed 68% of his passes, nobody's talking about Trevor Lawrence. What has happened in that picture in your estimation, Tim Tebow?
Well, I think he started the year not very hot, and so a lot of people kind of started to look at these other quarterbacks that were really performing. But if you look at the last couple of weeks, Trevor Lawrence has gotten a lot better, and he's getting really hot. And I said it a few weeks ago. I said one of the scarier teams to face in the playoffs, in my opinion, is going to be Clemson because they're peaking. And Dabo knows how to teach his teams to grow and get better throughout the season where you're peaking in the playoff. You remember a few years ago, they lost to Pitt, and people thought, they're not good. They lost to Pitt. How could you lose to a terrible Pitt team? Well, then they went and dominated everybody the rest of the year. And that's a little bit of what I think this Clemson team is doing. They're getting better. They're getting better. Trevor's getting better. Their receivers are still as freaky as anybody's. And this is not a team that you want to see if they get to the playoff.
All right, Tim, thank you so much, as always, for your insights on Friday.
Enjoy.
Absolutely.
Are you okay? Because I see you need a jacket. You can't just wear a shirt with the button open and stuff. Now you got a jacket.
No, I'll be
Are
okay.
you okay? Is it a little chilly for you? You all right?
I feel just fine. I just wanted to put it because, it matched the scenery, so I'm good. Thanks, Stephen. And thanks for caring so much. I appreciate it, though.
The caring is always
Thank
here.
you.
Stephen A.